Hello, guys. How are you? Welcome to another Wow podcast. And I know that you loved the episode where I introduced you to my boo boo Andres. And that's why I have him back on our podcast. And this time we're going to be talking about. So we're just kind of like going in a little sequence, right? The first podcast, you got to know what he does and his background. The second one was how we met. And now we're going to be talking on how all of this training that we've had, not just for self-growth, but for business development, has helped us grow and elevate our business to the next level. So without any further ado, here's Andres. How are you?
Thank you, my love. Happy to be back.
Awesome. How do you
Back
feel?
in town, business. Back in town, of course.
Yeah.
Not for business.
Yeah. How do you feel about everyone commenting on our previous podcast and all the feedback that you got?
It was hilarious.
It was a hit.
It was a hit.
I know.
You made everyone laugh.
No, you did. You did. We both did.
It was funny.
I know. So, I asked you to be back on the podcast because everybody loved seeing our dynamic. And if you guys watched the last podcast, which if you haven't, I ask you please to go back and watch it because not only is pretty funny, but we're telling our story on how we met. And turns out, if you missed it, that we met at this convention that is for a business. Literally, it's called Business Mastery. It's directed by a very famous guy, and we went there precisely because we are both business owners and we wanted to elevate our business to the next level.
That's right.
Some
We're
of the
hungry.
some of the things that we learned there, we already started implementing it in our business, and it's taken off. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And we see it on a daily basis. I see it in your business. The beauty of it is that the content and all the education that we got to learn is all fresh.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love how we get to practice everything we learn. on a daily
What
basis.
what do you think? Because we were in that seminar, I think it was like 5 or 6 days for like literally 16, 18-hour days. It was brutal.
It was
But
very intense.
it was very intense, and it was directly just for business. So what are the key things? For example, for me, one of the main things that I took away was understanding our prospects, right? Who's the right client for your business? What can you say about that?
Well, that's one of the best and most important aspects of your business. Once you get to understand your prospects, you now learn that your product or service shouldn't be offered to everyone. We should be able to establish a specific audience, to target a specific clientele that will be blessed to get our products or services. So in that particular seminar, I got to understand both the emotional experience when engaging with our clients and also growing together. And the beauty of this is not to be a salesman, but to offer something that they need, not just for you to get rid of it and sell it right on the spot. You want to be able to offer something that will be serving your client. So the purpose behind your product or service is what makes the big difference, right?
Right.
The story we tell by offering a product that will help someone out. And in that particular seminar, that's what I got to understand the most, that I should not be offering my product to everyone.
Right.
I gotta be able to identify those who need my product so that I can successfully deliver, right?
Right.
You don't want to end up with someone who's not gonna need it, right? You know, the famous or most popular salesman get to offer something most people don't need, but they just want to do it because they want to be titled a salesman. And I don't want to be labeled a salesman like that. I want to be able to be someone who's going to be offering something that you need, right? Because I want you to use it. I don't want you to just buy it and keep it in the back of your car.
Right.
So I got to understand the beauty of understanding the product, understanding the service, and then offering that to your client.
Right, because not everybody is your ideal client.
Right.
For instance, I don't know, we won't be selling like that saying you're not going to sell ice to an Eskimo, right? He's not your ideal client.
Yeah.
You have to find who and when we say prospects, I mean, it's very self-explanatory, but if you don't know what that is, it's just your ideal client. Who's your ideal client? Who you're targeting to? Because you cannot target the masses, because not everybody might need your service.
Now, here's the question. Once you think you find a product or service, how do you stick to it? Because there's so many products out in the market. I mean, there's advertisements everywhere, right? So one of the most popular questions back then in the seminar was, how do you find the product? How do you find the service? And it usually gets triggered through your emotions, the experiences that you had in the past, things that you were not content with, and that you always thought about a solution to that problem, right? So
Right.
finding a solution to problems, whether it's something that you're experiencing or something that you get to see that someone else is going through, right?
I know. Finding a solution to a problem is the
Exactly.
key
100%.
phrase. I remember, because you missed it. I mean, we talked about it on the last podcast when this guy interviewed me. Hello, like I was on the screens everywhere and you missed it, but it's okay. We're not going to talk about that right now.
We
But
moved on.
I haven't, but okay. So one of the things, because he was doing an exercise during this part of the seminar, where he was saying, how, like, if you were in a room full of people, how would you introduce yourself to make your, 'cause what you said, people buy because they relate their needs with emotions.
Right.
And how do you present your field to a group of people if you're in a room? For instance, I own a beauty salon, so what do I say? Hi, I'm Daylene and I own a beauty salon. Or hi, I'm Daylene, I do nails. It's very plain, very basic, and it's like doesn't set you apart. People are not going to be like, oh, no way, this is what you do for a living. Oh my God, how exciting. No. So the exercise, I don't know. Do you remember? You weren't there, because obviously you missed me in the screens, but I remember.
What was it?
So he was going around, and let's say somebody said, hi, my name is Robert and I sell insurance. And everybody's like, oh, okay, I don't want to do business with you. You sell insurance. But if he would have said, hi, my name is Robert and I give you peace of mind, because if you get my services, your family will be covered in case you have an emergency.
Right. Yeah.
So then automatically people are like, oh, crap, yeah, if I have an emergency, I want to make sure that my family is covered. So yes, this is something that I need. Why? Because you planted that emotion, you planted that feeling of him wanting to feel secure. So that's why when when people ask, I mean, I've seen you many times introducing yourself, and when people ask you, oh, hey, who are you? You're like, hi, I'm Andres and I design houses. And then you tell them, I create beautiful calming spaces, and that's how you say it, and
Right.
and that's the emotions. So I thought that was a great exercise.
I always, I don't know if you noticed, but I always stay away from titles. Titles could be very misleading, because not many people stick to their roles. And that's why I focus more on what exactly do you do. So that's why when someone asks me, oh, what do you do, or what are you doing, like what's the whole purpose behind it, it's I design custom homes, but besides my job is the experience, right? So we focus on what the person is doing, which is the experience that eventually gets to create an emotion, and that's what sales.
Right.
Instead of meeting each other with a sign saying that I sell this, this, and that, you want to be able to focus on the experience.
Something, speaking of introducing yourself, so people get to know you, right? Because a lot of times you can make a sale just by introducing yourself, right?
Right.
If you do it the right way. Yesterday I can't remember his name, but I follow him and he's great with communications. And he was saying that if you really want to make an impression in someone, if you want to make it memorable for a person that you don't know and you're just introducing yourself. Let's say if there's a group of people and they're like, okay, let's go around, tell us your name and what do you do, and you say, hi, I'm Andres, I'm an interior designer. Hi, I am Maria, and I am, a computer engineer. Hi, I am, whoever, and do this. It's very boring and plain, and
Yeah.
nobody will ever remember you. But if you tell a little story
Yeah.
when you're introducing yourself, it would completely change someone's perspective of who you are, and they're going to want to hear more, and they want to hear the story behind it. So for example, if I said, well, my name is Daylene, and let me tell you a funny story. I originally wanted to be a dentist, but guess what? I just couldn't go to college because I, was doing something else. I was really not too sure on what path I wanted to go. So then I decided, you know what, Day, are you really sure that you want to be a dentist? Or perhaps are you interested in maybe making people feel pretty? And that's exactly what I did. And that's the path that I'm on. And then people are going to be like, wait, but how do you make people pretty? They want to hear it,
Yeah.
So it's like, that is just a key little thing that I'm going to start implementing now to catch people's attention and get them to relate to you. And that also is related to emotions.
That's the hook.
Yeah.
And on top of it, you're a great storyteller.
Well, I've been told.
But you're right. Emotions, experiences is what sells. And that's how I see sales. The typical car dealership salesman is like right in your face, making, the car seem like it's something out of this world when it's not really all that, and it's just very average. But I'd rather stick to a story the way you describe it. It's
Can I
much
tell you
more pleasing.
something? Can I tell you something about emotions and cars?
Mhm.
You know why car salesmen are so insisting on you taking the car for a test drive?
What?
It's because once you sit on that car,
Oh, you're hooked.
you're hooked. You're
Yeah.
going to be like, oh my God, the smell of this car. I mean, I want to smell this every morning when I get into my car. And the seats, oh my God, they're so soft. I love the color. Oh yeah, I can see myself driving this. Wow, look at it, and that is emotional again. Like, it has to go with feelings. You feel good when you're in that car.
Yeah.
So even car salesmen use this technique to flip it to make it to want people have that feeling of, I want to have that.
Right. That reminds me of the golden circle theory, which I think I explained this to you before. The why, how, and what. The why, which is the core, the main concept, the why you're doing what you're doing, and then you eventually tell the person how you're doing it. And then the side effect is for you to know what you're doing. So instead of telling people what you're doing, you get started by telling why you're doing it, right? So you want to be able to say and explain why you're doing what you're doing. And then by listening to your story, you get to understand how you're doing it. Then eventually I'll find out what it is that you're doing.
Well, that goes back to storytelling.
100%. Yeah, because it's the experience, the emotions.
For sure. So now we talked about how to understand who your ideal client is, which maybe we should just touch a little bit more on that, because again, like I said, you're not going to go sell ice to an Eskimo.
Right.
How, in your field, for example, how do you filter and to know what kind of people to target?
So with the beautiful stones, like emeralds, with diamonds, those who are experts on the field, they know what's fake and what's real, right? So in our business, we know exactly who wants to buy and who is just window shopping. So based on my experience, I get to learn those who are serious about it and those who are just asking questions or want to get information out of me, right? So I have a very specific clientele. In my business, since we design custom homes, our clientele is builders, developers, and then homeowners. And we don't just target any homeowner or any developer or any builder, right? So we have certain brackets,
Like
certain
criteria?
tiers. Yeah, because there are subgroups within all of these groups, right? Um, and we have a clear understanding on how to react to conversations, or especially when engaging with new clients or new
Mm-hmm.
prospects. We know exactly who they are and what they want. So those are my three main clients within our business, and those are the ones that we target as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we just go step by step in the sense of offering our service to design custom homes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we
So,
understand who our clients are. And
y-
usually the properties are $3 million and up.
oh,
They're not
sorry.
just,
Very bougie.
no, I mean, it's just the point of keeping groups or clients within a specific bracket.
No,
That's how you find out who's your client.
and that makes perfect sense because, again, not everybody is your perfect client, right? You're not going, for example, you specialize in luxury homes. You're not going to go to just, I don't know, a mobile home and offer
Right.
your services. So, it needs to, there's people who are experts in that field
Right.
that can service them better. And then same thing around, people who are, continuously service a certain demographics probably won't feel too comfortable jumping to like a big mansion, for example, because they might not have the experience, the resources, the knowledge on how to deal with that type of client and that type of service.
And it makes sense. I always make fun of Home Depot, but I use Home Depot all the time.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to, like, we don't buy our finishes, the final products, from Home Depot. We have different showrooms and different companies, right? But you see a clear difference when you do a full renovation with Home Depot products and then like a steady, respectable showroom. You clearly see the difference in quality of the products, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to do a renovation on a, let's say, a $500,000 property and invest $1 million. The numbers don't add up, right? They don't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was saying earlier today, our clients usually have properties of worth,
Right.
value of $2 million and up,
Yeah.
and that's what helps us guide our service and product with specific clientele.
Speaking of service and product, it's two different things. Which
Yes.
one you think is more important?
To me, it all depends on the business concept,
Mm-hmm.
on what the company is doing. Some companies just offer a product, and some companies just offer the service, and others do both. To me, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the concept behind it, what the company is doing, what the solutions they're providing. So in my case, I offer both for obvious reasons, but I wouldn't say that one is more important than the other. They just need each other.
See, for me, it's a little different. I think service is a little above product because in this, and now I'm talking about my industry, which is beauty.
Uh-huh.
For me, service, again, going back on what do we sell? Again, when this guy was interviewing me, that and this I have so clear in my head, the whole purpose of this exercise was, what are we going to offer the client that nobody else will be able to offer?
Right.
And in my case, when I, going back on the beginning of the conversation, instead of me saying, "Hi, I'm Day and I have a beauty salon," I want to take that out of my head and actually look at it like I'm not selling beauty services. I am providing an experience. So when he wanted us to introduce ourselves in a different way, so then
Right.
we redid it, and I said, well, I'm Daylene and I create memorable experiences for our clients because they know that every time they come in, they're going to feel amazing. So that's why service to me is a little more important than product,
Well,
because
it does get more personalized for
Mhm.
sure. So it is more detailed, of
Mhm.
course.
Yeah. In my field, if for instance, the product, let's say a nail polish, you can get the nail polish, the same nail polish in different retailers. You can buy it online, you can buy it on Amazon, you can, it's the same color throughout the whole nation. But you're the factor that makes everything change and why people want to come back. I have, and I've said this in other videos, I have 50, 60 salons around me. But the kind of experience that our clients have when they come here to the Wow Studio is different.
Yes, unique.
It's very
For
unique.
sure.
The culture is different. The music is different. The vibe. We do things, for example, we're getting ready for a bingo night. We do the Wow Market. We do a walk. You know, it's like we are creating a community so people feel like they're part of something.
Now, that proves my point when it comes to also what you mentioned. There's a bunch of different beauty salons around you, but that proves my point that the service, the emotions, the experience that the client is going through, is what makes the big difference. But what makes that possible is your culture, your mindset, the ideologies behind the service. Because many beauty salons have the same exact service, but nobody does it the way you do it. So what you do behind the scenes is portrayed in front of the clientele, and that's the beauty of it. That's what makes you unique. And I have seen it. I'm a witness to it, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, thank you. I am very proud of that. But let's talk about something else now, or actually not something else, but going towards the same line. So we already established that people buy because emotions and feelings, they want to feel a certain way. They want to know, for instance, in their house, that if they walk past the kitchen, they're going to have a beautiful window out looking a lake, and that's going to give them energy in the morning, right? You're
Right.
selling that feeling of feeling good. I sell the feeling of feeling pretty,
Yes.
right? But now there's also that other factor, the product, that is also, in my opinion, is very important, but I don't think it's equally as
It
important.
is a secondary tool,
Uh-huh.
because within the hierarchy pyramid, the service is all the way in the top. That's what's the most challenging. That's what takes the most to achieve successfully. And the product itself is just the tool to help you drive it, right? And like you were saying, when you walk into a brand new house, after we did all the work, the client finally gets to experience what a brand new home feels like. And those products, the furniture, the wallpaper, the lighting fixtures, the flooring materials, is these are the products, but these are just tools that help the experience flow with the client, right?
Right.
So you're right. The service is all the way in the top. That's what
I
requires
like when you say I'm
most.
right.
Well, not always, but Jace is laughing
So
behind the scenes.
speaking of product, right? Because we already established that service is super important. I would say secondary, and you agreed with me that secondary is product. But you the other day were telling me that products has to be broken down into 3 tiers.
100%. Every company, as you know, everyone is a salesman. If you're not selling a service or a product, you're selling your time, right? So everyone is a salesman, and entrepreneurs understand this very clear because we're on a constant hustle every single day. We're hungry to sell something, right?
Wait, hold on, pause. Today I heard in a video that it said that, you know what entrepreneur means, because you use that word right now.
Tell me.
Is There's really no definition to what an entrepreneur is, but it's someone really good at making money. Yeah,
Okay.
that is.
All right.
So you're just about to say that, right? That
Yeah. Well, I was gonna focus on the three-tier product or service, right? From the lowest to the highest. Lowest being the inexpensive product or service, and the highest being the premium package, right? The premium product. You want your client to reach to the premium package, but you don't want to be so upfront by offering that right on the spot. You want to be able to present the low tier product at first. So it could be the hook, the very first step into the door, so they can understand what you do and how you do it, right? And then eventually the goal is to get the client to walk into the premium package. And that's what we do in my office or in your business, as you noticed. That's because of the simple fact that not everyone is willing to spend $100,000 $200,000 with you for the first time. Many of, if not all of the clients are strangers and they become your friend or family. But most of them, if not all of them, are strangers.
Mhm.
And you want to be able to make them feel, like you're trusted, especially when making a big
Now,
payment, right?
wouldn't you think that actually started in the mid tier would be ideal? Because then you have an option for a lower budget and an option for higher budget.
When you do the numbers, it's easier for you to buy something that is costing you $2 versus $20, right? So you could have a $2 product, a $20 product, and then a $150 product. Most people are gonna say the $2 product is like easy. It's not gonna affect my pocket, and I could do it anytime, anywhere. Yeah, so it's much easier for your brain to be triggered in the pleasant experience versus the $20 product, even though it's not expensive at all, right? But it's still within the mid tier level. So that's what most people find easier to do. Just buy something that is worth $2 because it's not gonna affect you at all.
I'm going to challenge you on this.
The numbers don't lie.
I'm going to challenge you on this because I think introducing the mid tier product, and this is just my opinion, could be more beneficial, not just for the client, but for your sales. Because not only you're bringing more value to the client, and they see it, they're like, oh my god, if I was to have something for $10.
Well, here's the question. If it's bringing more value to the client, why wouldn't you offer the product that is $150 instead of the one that is $20?
Because this one has it all. This one has the affordability with value. Now, if they're a client who are lean more towards value, time management, for example, they cannot spend too much time because they need to go, and it's going to make their life easier, then they very most likely they will just upgrade to the premium package because it's easier for them for their lifestyle. But if there's a client who is more he directs his attention more to saving money and doesn't necessarily want to save time because he's a retired person, for example,
Yeah.
he will just stick with the lower one. But if you do the mid, you know that you're getting a little bit of both. You're getting that. To me, it's my sweet spot.
Well, guess what? That's your mindset, and that's completely fine. There's no right or wrong. That's why you have three tiers, and that's defined by your clientele based on the philosophy that you get to create. If you want most of your clients to focus on the mid-level tier, then guess what? That will be the approach. If you want the lowest to be the main one so that they eventually climb up the ladder, then that's your concept behind
Well, I
the
guess you
financial
train your
structure.
client to.
Yeah. But it all goes back to your philosophy, your mindset. That's what you're training your clients to do. So, but here's the catch. Most companies, in my experience, get stuck in one product and one product only, even if they offer the three products. With the same concept to climb up the ladder and eventually get the premium package, they don't actually get that. They get stuck on the lowest because it's the easiest to sell, so they become comfortable. Or what you're saying, the mid tier has it all, and they get stuck in the middle instead of going to the premium package because that's what the business owner is training their clientele to do.
I think that also has to do a lot with who's presenting this to a client, because if you're persuasive, if you know how to talk to a client, if you can relate to them, like, again, not everybody is your client. So it also helps a lot with sales. There's a psychology
Right.
to sell. You cannot, for instance, and this is another thing. I read a lot of books. You know that I am always reading books. I'm always watching videos. I do not waste any waking moment of my time with. I try not to with garbage stuff, because to me, my self-growth is way more important than watching whatever videos. But again, this is something that I learned from one book that I'm reading right now from Brian Tracy called The Psychology of Selling. What happens, for example, when somebody says, no, I don't want it? right? And then sometimes you take it personal and you're like, but come on, it's like a good value. But maybe that client doesn't need a copy machine right now. You know what I mean? Let's say just a random thing. That doesn't mean he's saying to you, no, completely, and I don't want to see you again. It's not the right time for them,
Right.
So that is also a good time, a good thing why to have tiers, so people have options in case maybe this is really not what they're looking for, but this other option will work
And
well.
that's why we have to understand who our client is and their needs.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to open up the box and say, this is the fully equipped package when they're just looking to get the bare minimum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then that defeats the whole purpose. You're going to be offering something they're not going to use. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole concept of understanding your client, knowing exactly what you can offer so that they can take it because that's exactly what they need, right?
Right.
It's like the watch sale. Like, why would I give you a watch if you don't even wear a watch, right? That doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So once you understand your product, once you understand your client, it makes it easier for you to communicate exactly what the solution is to their problems or the service they're looking to.
Now let's move on and talk about where you find your clients, right? Eh, where do you find them? Because most of the time, this is a big, if not, I would say like 90% of your time, you want to find new clients, but where do you go to find new clients? So, in your business, for instance, you say you target builders and developers. How or what type scenario do you find that is the best in your case, or in generally speaking, what would you think that would be um, an ideal place to meet clients? Could it be events? Could it be restaurants? Could it be online? What do you think?
Well, in my business, when designing homes, relationships is everything.
Mm-hmm.
So my business runs on referrals only. I rarely get leads from strangers. People reach out to me because they seen my work or somebody within my circle, my social circle, told them about me, so they ended up reaching out to me. So social events, but mainly relationships, friendships that you get to build, because that's the best way for someone to be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these developers that reach out to me, we have known each other for many years, but it took the very first step when they make the phone call and told me that they heard about me because of my friend
Mm-hmm.
or because they got to see my work, right?
Mm-hmm.
The building. So events work really good, but relationships is what makes the difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For example, in my case, I try to do monthly events, at the
And
salon.
that's an amazing tool.
Yeah, it creates a lot of momentum within the clients because they get to know each other too. We're creating
Right.
a community. I target, and this is just a little piece of advice for everybody who's in the beauty business. I target places where a lot of women go. So the first thing I do is there's a new studio in town. Guess what? I'm going to that studio. I'm going to take that yoga class because I need to know if that could be my ideal client. Like we said before, if a girl that works out, she has her nails done, she's always looking nice on point, and she has a following on Instagram, whatever, I want that person to come into the salon. So I blend in with the crowd, and then little by little I start making connections. Same thing, like right now we are creating a partnership with a flower shop that does flower
I love that.
classes, like arrangements. So guess what, by the way, Jay, we're going to an event with her. Write it down. um other for example, I have some girls who are influencers, and I they do an influencer event. I want to go to that event because I need to know who are they influencing.
Right.
So that, for example, is the kind of target that I go after to find new clients. And that's where inviting them to our monthly events really work, because they help us spread out the word
Now,
also.
would you say that it's easier for you to get new clients since everyone needs a mani and pedi?
Well, Yes and no. I mean, if you think about it in the great scheme of things, comparing to your business, is a very affordable luxury,
Right.
right? You sell luxury, I sell affordable luxury, right? Most people, um, most women around in my area get their nails done. So I'm in a perfect demographic location to be able to sell beauty versus if I was like in Montana where there's only cows and pigs in like farms, and the ladies there really probably don't treat themselves to a nice manicure because they have to go milk the cow, you know? That's not my ideal scenario. So I am very lucky to be in this space. You know, if you guys are from Florida, if you're watching, you're from Florida, we're very close to very prominent areas like Boca Raton, which a lot of women take care of themselves there. The thing is, there's like 60 salons around us that do it at a lesser price. So that's where my team and I, we bring value to their experience. Every time they come to get their nails done, we offer other things that maybe most salons don't do, like a membership.
Right.
And that's what keeps them coming back to us.
And you know what I noticed the most, especially when flying back and forth with you, that just going through Beverly Hills, the West Hollywood area, most of these beauty salons were empty.
Yeah.
And that was the very first thing that you told me. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this salon is empty. There's nothing
I
happening.
don't know how they
And then
survive.
every time I come here to the Wow Studio, it's like a party going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a party scene.
I know.
This is full house.
It is, and I'm very proud of that. It's taking years. I mean, I've been open almost 10 years now, and that's part of the culture. See, the thing is that people want to be part of something,
Right.
right? And the thing also when we're talking about product, it's not the product because honestly, they can get their nails done anywhere.
Anywhere.
Even cheaper sometimes. It's what they feel when they come to my salon. They feel like we say one thing, for example, just a little quickie for all of those clients of mine or emerging beautypreneurs that are trying to figure out little ways on how to grow their business. My receptionist, every time somebody walks into the door, they need to stand up. Period. Anybody walks into the door, they need to stand up and greet them, hopefully by name if they know who they are. But if it's someone new, they need to stand up. It's a sign of respect. Right off the bat, that's their first impression they get. Wow, these people stood up. Like they're giving me a standing ovation. And yes, we are giving you a standing ovation because you're so important for our business. You know, we want to get to know you. We want to get to be part of your life. You
I
know?
love that.
And
I love that.
and that is that it just from the very beginning they have that experience. As they're walking into the salon, they get hit with more pleasant surprises. We offer them, hey, would you like water? You want wine, coffee? What can we do for you? Oh, your nail technician will be right with you. In the meantime, let me give you the colors. What are you feeling like? You want a pink? You want a blue? You know, and it's very personalized from the very beginning. That's why I said service is so important in my field, right? I don't know anybody else, but if you go, in my experience, that extra mile, it just goes, you have a client for life.
Yeah, you're right. That makes a big difference.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what they're going to tell their friends and family.
That's
Yeah,
exactly.
you're right.
Exactly. And this is a discussion that we have constantly because it's no secret that I'm a workaholic, right? And it's something that I am trying to
Balance things out.
yeah, even though I believe there's really no balance when you're an entrepreneur, and I bet you don't like this, but but I just feel like if you want to be good at something, yeah, you're going to be
Oh,
imbalanced.
100%. It has to be.
But that's why, okay, think about this. And this is another analogy. Disney World is a faceless brand. But at one point, it needed Walt Disney to make it happen,
That's right.
right? Walt Disney needed to be there in order for Disneyland to be what it is now.
Yeah.
If Walt Disney was not there, not present, not hustling, not pressuring their people, not coming up with ideas, not executing, Disneyland or Disney World wouldn't exist.
That's right.
Same thing with Apple. It's faceless. But they needed Steve Jobs, you know? He's gone. Now Apple is Apple. Jeff Bezos. Now is Amazon is faceless, but Jeff Bezos needed to be there. So if you're thinking of starting your entrepreneurship, but being like, oh, I just want my business to be on autopilot and I just want to like sit back and look the numbers grow, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
You need to be present. You need to be understand what's going on in your business, come up with initiatives, with ideas, with creation. So then eventually, later on, when you paid your dues, you can retire and just sit back and lay back and be like, oh, my business is where it is because I put in the work at the beginning.
And there's no better feeling as a client to feel like you're getting the service one on one,
Right.
right? I know AI is taking over and technology is everywhere, which is a beautiful thing. But there's no better feeling than knowing that if you make a phone call, someone is gonna pick up the phone and answer the specific question that you may have. And that's when you talk about being on top of the business.
And that's why service is so important because, and this is something that I'm getting very passionate here, as you can tell. This is where I feel like I made such a good move when I decided to open my salon because I kind of like had an epiphany where I was like, oh my, I used to sell perfume before. And I was like, oh my God, am I really going to sell perfume? Like all my other coworkers here that have been in this store for like 45 years and they still can't retire because they're fighting over every sale, every single person that walks into their door. I don't want to be that person. And I said, you know what? I bet you in no time, the way that online sales are going, this mall soon will be just a parking lot. And that was my train of thought. And I'm kind of seeing that happening again with AI. The good thing is that AI can't do your nails, honey.
Well, it's very clear, not only with all the stores that have closed down, but you're right. Anyone can sell a perfume, but the service that you offer now is completely different.
Exactly.
It's
That's why
personalized.
that's why service to me is even a little bit more above product because that, like you said, that human touch cannot be duplicated. Nobody can, AI cannot come and give you a foot rub, or a hand rub or tell you nice things like, "Oh my God, well tell me how was your trip?" and all of that with such details. You need that human interaction. That's why if you're thinking of what's the next thing for you to do, get into a service-based, I believe, a service-based business. Now, with that said, I'm just going to do a little pause here to promote my masterclass that is going to happen in June. It's going to happen at the end of this month. I'm hosting a masterclass for wow bosses. Yeah, that's right. I am going to be hosting a class where I'm going to tell you all about my tips and tricks on how I grew my salon to have about 25 beauty providers. Yeah, beauty providers is the right word. And then how I grew my audience, and now I'm selling memberships. I have over 600 reviews, over Yelp, Google, and Facebook. So, anyways, if you want to be part of my masterclass, just let me know, and I'll be happy to sign you up. Anyways.
I'm excited to see that.
Anyways, okay, so now we talked about who's your ideal client, what's better, product or service, the different tiers that you should offer.
Yes.
How do you find your clients and do monthly events towards that? Now, numbers.
You love that, huh?
No, I don't like that.
Numbers.
That's a problem of mine that I don't like this part, in many beauty business or business owners in general
Because
feel
you're
the
the
same.
artist. That's why. You're the genius artist with the concept behind the business.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why sometimes you gotta let the numbers be dealt with someone who's very financial structured and someone who's numbers guided.
Mm-hmm. How do you manage that? Because you're very good at that.
So I think I used to be the artist and then I became the entrepreneur, then transitioned to the business minded person. I love numbers. To me, they're very evident. Is one way, if not the best way, to measure the sales, right?
The growth.
Yeah, the growth. Because once you understand the concept of being on a constant hustle, the daily growth is a must. Is non-negotiable. So daily targets have to be implemented so that you understand how to sell, who to sell, and how to have those daily sales. Um, I love it for many reasons, but to me it's very exciting also because everyone deals with numbers, but not everyone gets to understand it, right? So it goes back to the value of your product and service. In my case, I track the numbers, but understand how much I'm spending, right? First, I gotta be able to set up a budget per project and know exactly what are the limits. How much am I supposed to spend, and how much I'm gonna have within the bucket. Um, and it's also very easy once you feel comfortable. The thing is, you have to be able to feel comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
The fear of doing numbers is just a myth. You most likely you don't like numbers because you're not good at it, but that's because you kind of like reject the idea to be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to kind of like welcome, you know, the numbers, understand the financials,
Mm-hmm.
and with just a brief mentorship behind it is much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we'll get to it in the sense that you'll get to love it. It's not that bad.
Yeah, so when he mentions that I'm the artist, that's another thing that because I think we kind of like went away from how we started the conversation, but we were just talking about how, the kind of environment that we met at, and there were, I think, three type of people. It was the artist, the beauty owner, I mean, the business owner, and what was the other one? The lower one?
I forgot.
I forgot, but anyways, most people debate whether they're an artist or a business owner. And a lot of people that have so much passion, like I do, with getting their hands nice and dirty in their field are artists because they want to have control over everything because this is what makes them vibe. And then there's a people like you who are more focused in the bigger picture and seeing more like investments and where can we allocate this and this and that. We're beauty owners, and eventually in life you want to become like this dude right here, like a business owner that can eventually just sit back and enjoy.
But luckily, I enjoy both worlds at the same time. Like being an artist and being a business owner, to me, is just absolutely exciting. Like very, very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get to track both the quality of the service and also I get to track the numbers when the sales go right.
Mm-hmm. I implement that here in my salon too. Like my manager Jay, actually today we were talking about that. We do have goals. We do set goals for each beauty provider. We set goals. Sometimes right now we're running a contest within the salon. For girls who can help us sell the most memberships. We already have a couple of girls that are ahead of the game. So, like, they're also helping us create the numbers, right? So we are getting a little bit more in what he's saying, that I love numbers and all that, is because just more recently, after coming back from this seminar, it was like a wake up call that I love so much what I do that I tend to neglect a little bit paying attention to this very, very important area in order to increase our growth. And even Jay told me the other day, she says, like, how do we expect to keep growing if we're just hitting a plateau, let's say on pricing? We don't
Right.
increase our pricing. Or how do you expect to grow if we don't have new clients? We need new clients to bring more revenue. And that's where, you know, doing events and everything is connected.
Well, the breakdown of all the finances goes down to a point of not relying on only one source, right? Because in your case, you offer different services,
Right.
but not just the sale of a product is the main number, right? You want to be able to do it through memberships, commissions, referrals, and advertisements, and they all pay off.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is to have multiple streams within the same business,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and that's where you suggested that for perhaps having some retail might be beneficial.
100%. But I'm the biggest fan of the memberships. The
Yeah,
membership concept is just the perfect scenario to engage with the client, keep them, active within the community, and then make money.
that's right. Well, I don't like to make our podcast too long. I think that we already took a lot of time, but I think this is so interesting.
I love it.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for joining me again in our podcast. And I think we're going to be doing these a little bit more often. But for now, we're going to leave it here. And if anything else that you want to add before we go?
Let's rock and roll, baby.
Sorry, guys. Anyways, see you guys. Thank you for joining. Bye.